Hey there, rulers, ZMO73 here, bringing you a couple of ideas for library Eins. Let's go ahead and jump right in.
This session brought to you by Odyssey Games for pre-orders and sealed product, CCG Prime for tons of singles and supplies, Cardo Doko for international rulers looking for products, and FoulLibrary.com for articles and wonderful deck lists.
As well as our guest lecturer members King Pearlshine, Vite Ramen, Mognite, and Darren Noblock.
Class is in session.
So here is the deck list for the first one, but before we get started, just a reminder that you can go get pre-orders up of the new set Clash of the Star Trees right now from Odyssey Games. You can check a link in the description to go check that out. You also should consider starting to build your deck for our August 19th Ruler School Discord tournament, where we're going to be hosting an event for this sick playmat that you're going to see here right on the screen. So hope to see you there for that. So this is Floodgate Eins. It is really, this is my take of kind of combining the lists between the way I was building it as well as the way that the players from Germany and Austria, Sasha, Lars, and JPK were piloting the list. The Sasha and JPK ended up at 8th in the top 8 at Worlds, and then Lars took 10th. So very, very potent list. And so I'm going to kind of go over their version, my tweaks to it, as well as my version of it, which was heavier into the gears package to make use of contract. So contract list versus contract Eins, both kind of utilizing a similar kind of core with this idea of making Eins a library. So the idea is that Eins gets to reveal a attributed gears from outside the field once at the beginning of each turn and gains all of that gears' abilities. Well, Great Dimension Library is a gears, so you can just get a library out safely, and because of the fact that you don't have to worry about the card getting popped or anything else, it's a little bit easier to make use of Brad as a draw engine. And then the idea with the deck for Lars and all of them was to take other ways to make use of really abusing Brad as that draw power engine and finding other ways to make use of Brad too without having to rely on things like conflict or the other Brad spells. So really just using Brad. And then the other cool thing is the nice interaction here with Recon Gears plus Tinkerbell being a way for this deck to play around White Child by getting to still be able to do board wipes with things by Recon Gears gets revealed for free and then put into the field, and then Tinkerbell can be paid for 1 white for its activate ability and then thus nuking the board because you put a 2-drop resonator into the field. So some cool interactions there, and then kind of the shell goes around it from that perspective. Your sideboard is really 13 cards that you have a potential to use during game 1, and then 2 sideboard slots. We're playing 2 Intimidates just to help against some of the more aggro matchups, or things like the Asuka Loops, which is helpful. And then obviously 3 Bird of Solari, 3 Dragon of Solari, 2 Shark of Solari, and 1 Bat. And then in terms of ones that we're going to reveal at the start of the game, Gearsification Facility and Outer Space are the only things we're going with there. The reason why we're playing 3 Dragon, 3 Bird is because with Recon Gears we can get them revealed, so it gets us a little bit better spot removal as well as some additional life gain to kind of help in those more aggressive matchups. We're also playing 2 Rain of Comets here as a great little way to help clear out the field and deal with annoying board states. Also is really good against decks like Aristella, Red Eyes, and stuff like that, so you can just remove all of those abilities from the field. It's also really nice to deal with things like Rayasnable, although you can do some really cool things by just, if they play a Rayasnable, you could just get a Recon Gears for free, because it won't have the enter effect of banish this card. That won't trigger, because Rayasnable will stop it, so that's pretty neat there. We're playing 3 copies of Facility in the deck, because this deck does kind of rely heavily on Facility, so you want to make sure you always have it up, so having all 3 other copies in the main deck is very helpful. And then this build is heavily into white, and because of those Floodgate pieces, so it's playing 4 copies of Flute as a barrier ramp that can then be used for a lot of cool things. You can also make it a Gears if you want to try to go into a more aggressive play and give it swiftness and then use it to play something like Pierre. Pierre's really good for being able to pop those additions, also serves as a nice little aggressive 1-drop that can help with Tinkerbell. We're also playing Pharesia, so Pharesia can get being only just a 1 wind or 1 darkness card, which is great as long as we have that Pierre, but even by itself too is not too bad. And then Brad can serve as a nice little removal spell with that, because you can just pitch it to her ability to discard a wind darkness card, and then because you're a library, it's going to go to the RFG instead of the graveyard, and then the Brad gets to come back to your hand. Some notable other things that we're going to do to use that kind of same idea with Brad is Gatekeeper of Velsavaria to help refill your hand, and Gatekeeper also can serve as a really nice body to kind of close out games as well, because if every single card you're playing or gets destroyed goes to RFG, suddenly this is going to be sitting at like 15, 16, 1700 attack very, very quickly. And then for some other kind of the floodgate elements, things like Academy Guard of Lycaon, although they were playing Exorcist Mage in the main. Based on my locals, Academy Guard is just kind of the card I would prefer. Then we have Rumsfeld, which is a great card in general, and you know it turns off being able to tap as library, but it doesn't turn off that much else, and being able to give the whole board barrier is great. And we'll still get all of those continuous buffs because Rumsfeld doesn't remove those abilities. We just don't get the ability to tap and draw, and we don't get any more reveals while Rumsfeld's out, but usually it's worth playing the Rumsfeld in general in this deck. Also playing Falling into the Cracks of Time is good there, and then also Rayman, which is good to be able to protect your board state as well as some of your other stuff. And then 3 Dark Alice for some draw power, which combos nicely with being a library, because then you can pitch the Brads to the Dark Alice trigger, and then they come back to your hand at the end of the turn. So this deck almost always has cards in hand, which is great, and then you can kind of, again, just kind of control the board state till you're ready to hit it. That being said, the biggest weakness of this deck is sometimes it doesn't really have a go button to be able to close games out. In talking with JPK especially, that was why they were playing Oborozuki, but like Oborozuki is kind of hard to get to be big quickly, so they were kind of struggling with that a little bit too, which is why I was playing my version here with a little bit heavier build into the contract version. So you'll notice we're playing things a little bit differently, a little bit more control-y, and a little bit more of a go button, less floodgatey. So playing more copies of Reign of Comets, not playing as many facilities main boarded, playing the conflicts to be able to protect, playing things like Persephone and Lorite. We were also playing, it was 3, it went down to 2 copies overall of Chromivore Gears. This card is really, really great as an aggressive play because a lot of people are picking 2 or 3 different attributes on the field early on, and so this would usually cost 1 or 2, and so then you also just replenish your hand and put down this big body that they have to kind of answer, and it's hard for them to stop, which is really, really nice. Same kind of thing, we're playing Recon Gears and Tinkerbell. Chromivore Gears, the stone base is more geared towards that, as well as Contract with Levin and Chrono Gear, again for that more here's the go button, time to go in. A couple things to note about this version is that it works really well if when you cheat in off of Levis and Chrono Gears, that you can cheat in the library, and it kind of gives you some protection for the go all in turn. If they go to kill the Levis and Chrono Gear after it, you know, the libraries back into play, then the library will RFG the Flight of the Demon Sword. You can banish the library, and then you can recast the Flight of the Demon Sword for 0, and then just recontract and continue to go in. In a similar vein, if they kill the dragon so that you don't have access to swiftness, you can banish the Great Dimension Library to be able to then play dragon for 1 less, costs 2 red, recast it, and still have swiftness. So you have a little bit more staying power with the contract turn with this kind of version of the build. So you could tweak between the two, kind of combine them together based on what your local meta is, and I think you could find a deck that is honestly a lot of fun to play. I've been really enjoying this deck a lot, so certainly recommend you give it a shot and let us know what your ideas for Brad are. I think I'll be able to do kind of similar things to this list with the new Zeben, because he is not necessarily the library, but because of the fact that you are that gears, so being able to have Tinkerbell plus Recon Gears if they don't get combo banned, which I don't think they will, but it's a very, very powerful strat to be able to bring to the table. So let me know what you guys think about it in the comment sections down below, and how you guys have been playing Eins in your area if you've been trying it out. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, this is DMO73 saying class dismissed.